had no idea that a boy started baseball.
And it's the boys that keep it going.
Boys like you, Graham?
Boys like me. For when I get out to the park with a bag of peanuts, I'm a boy again, rooting for the club.
It is my belief that baseball is loved by an entire nation because it embodies that priceless spirit of equality that is the very backbone of America itself. The crack of the bat, the sight of flashing spikes, a one-hand stop, a running catch, and the relentless roar of the fans defy imitation in the world of sport.
And now let's stroll down memory lane, starting with two grand old patriarchs, Connie Mack and Clark Griffith, who devoted a combined 139 years to the game.
Well, hello, Connie.
Hello, Griff.
Mind telling me who you're going to pitch tomorrow?
Haven't made up my mind. Who are you pitching?
Hold on a minute. I asked you first.
I always liked the boys coming up. You know that.
And what a difference today between the way the youngsters train and the way we did it 50 years ago.
I should say there is. Why, in 1887, before the season opened, we trained right in Washington for 2 weeks. And in the snow, too. There weren't any $6 a day hotels in those days either.
Will Harridge served the American League for 50 years, 28 of them as president. Commissioner Ford Frick in his first year as National League president. Warren Giles succeeded Ford Frick as National League president in 1951. Joe Cronin was elected president of the American League when Will Harridge retired in 1958. Cronin, a brilliant, hard-hitting Hall of Fame shortstop, is the only player who ever rose from the ranks to a league presidency. Cy Young, who won a record 511 games, warms up for Old Timers game. Walter Johnson, Washington's big train, pitched a record 56 consecutive shutout innings. He won 411 games and had an all-time high of 3,947 strikeouts. Grover Cleveland Alexander tied Christy Matheson for most games won in the National League with 373. In 1915, with the Phillies, he set a league earned run record of 1.22. Ed Walsh, one of the early spitballers, won 40 games for the White Sox in 1908. Honus Wagner is generally rated baseball's greatest all-around shortstop. He could do everything. Tris Speaker, a brilliant center fielder, 3 times hit over 380. Ty Cobb was a fierce competitor, an unsurpassed base runner, and one of the game's greatest hitters. He was American League batting champion 12 times. Ty shows Tris Speaker and Babe Ruth his hands-apart batting grip.
Well, this is a great day in my life. I'm very happy to be here, and I feel greatly honored, the privilege of being here.
The Georgia Peach totaled a record 4,191 hits, stole 892 bases, and had a .367 career batting average. Cobb frequently visited baseball's Hall of Fame. What a dream outfield. The fiery Cobb hitting a lifetime .367, the slugging Ruth .342, and the slick fielding Speaker .344. Ruth was baseball's most colorful figure, and the big Bambino, raised in an orphanage himself, was wonderful with youngsters. He loved them, and they worshiped him. Ruth was a powerful man who once swung a 50-ounce bat with explosive effect. He was a marvelous showman, and his slugging changed the entire image of baseball. His majestic, high-soaring homers so stirred the imagination of the fans that it ushered in the new era of the lively ball. Babe Ruth became the greatest sports figure of all time. Attendance boomed with every thunderous homer.
You know, to me, this is just like an anniversary myself, because 25 years ago yesterday, I pitched my first baseball game in Boston for the Boston Red Sox. So it seems like an anniversary for me, too, and I'm surely glad, and it's a pleasure for me to come up here and be picked also in the Hall of Fame. Thank you.
In 1927, the Babe hit 60 home runs. Then he set a lifetime total of 714 regular season home runs, a record that may stand forever. Lou Gehrig, the Iron Horse, was baseball's most durable player. He appeared in 2,130 consecutive games. Batting cleanup behind Babe Ruth, Gehrig and the Babe formed the most destructive 1-2 punch ever seen in baseball. Lou hit 4 homers in a game once and had a record of 23 grand slams. In 1931, he drove in 184 runs, an American League high. Gehrig always was a great favorite of manager Joe McCarthy. George Sisler set an all-time high of 257 hits in 1920. He also was one of the only 8 men who have hit 400 in the modern era. Rogers Hornsby had a lifetime average of 358 and is regarded as baseball's greatest right-hand hitter. 3 times his average topped 400, including the modern high of 424. Mel Ott of the New York Giants was a colorful slugger who kicked up his front foot to get more power into his swing. He stood only 5'8". Mel Ott leads all National Leaguers with 511 lifetime homers, and nobody ever played the tricky Polo Grounds wall as well as this Giant star. Here's another man who proved you didn't have to be big to hit. Pittsburgh's Paul Wainer. One of 7 players in the 3,000 hit club. Hack Wilson was only 5'6", but he was powerfully built. In 1930 with the Cubs, he not only set the National League mark of 56 home runs, but also established a runs batted in record of 190 that may never be surpassed. Jimmy Fox threatened Babe Ruth's home run record in 1932 when he hit 58. In lifetime homers, he's second to the Babe with 534. Towering Hank Greenberg was next to take a shot at the homer mark in 1938. He, too, fell short with 58. Bill Dickey was a superb catcher and fit perfectly into the Yankee slugging tradition. He totaled 202 homers. Mickey Cochran was a fine all-around catcher with a lifetime batting average of 320. An inspirational leader, he sparked the Philadelphia A's and the Detroit Tigers to pennants. Gabby Hartnett of the Chicago Cubs had a powerful arm, set a record for errorless chances, and packed a wallop that netted 236 homers. The All-Star Game was introduced in 1933 in Comiskey Park. And who dominated that star-spangled inaugural? None other than baseball's greatest showman, Babe Ruth. As usual, Babe rose to the occasion and boomed one of his majestic homers that proved decisive in a 4-2 victory of Connie Mack's American Leaguers over a National League team managed by John McGraw. Bill Terry and Joe Cronin are the managers for the second All-Star Game in 1934. Carl Hubbell's pitching dominates this one. He fans Babe Ruth. Gehrig also strikes out on Hubbell's baffling screwball. Next comes Jimmy Fox, and he whiffs too. And before Hubbell's through, Al Simmons and Joe Cronin also fanned to make it 5 American League sluggers in a row. In 1941, the American League is trailing when Ted Williams comes up in the last of the ninth. Claude Passo tries to protect the 5-3 margin of the National Leaguers. There are 2 on. Passo fires, and Williams connects solidly. It's gone into the second deck. A dramatic win for the American League, and Ted leaps up and down as he begins circling the bases. There's a big reception committee at the plate for Ted.
Yes, hitting that home run in the All-Star game in the 9th inning was certainly a big thrill that I'll never forget the rest of my life.
Milwaukee County Stadium is the scene of the 1955 All-Star game, and this is an overtime thriller that goes into the 12th inning when Stan Musial steps to the plate. Stan ties into one of Frank Sullivan's pitches, and there's no doubt about this one. It's a home run into the right field stands, making the score 6-5. The grinning Cardinal star trots around the bases. He's nearly mobbed by his jubilant National League mates as he arrives at the plate. Robert Moses Grove was probably the fastest lefty of all time. And there wasn't a 300-game winner in a decade until Grove reached that magic figure in 1941. The interim was even longer before the 300-win circle was challenged again, 2 decades to be exact, and then it was by Warren Spahn of the Milwaukee Braves. With 299 games already won, he's now facing the Chicago Cubs. With the game still tied in the 8th, Gino Cimoli slams a long one, and it's in the bleachers for a home run. Now it's just a matter of Spahn holding the lead. And he does, with Jim McInerney flying out to Hank Aaron for the last out of the game. The crowd of 44,000 roars its salute. This is a great moment for Warren Spahn, who goes on to become the winningest left-handed pitcher in baseball history. Early Wynn, always a rugged competitor, became baseball's 14th 300-game winner in 1963. His career included the Senators, Indians, and the White Sox. Eddie Collins and Charlie Gehringer, 2 of baseball's most renowned second basemen. Collins had a lifetime average of .333 and once stole 81 bases in a season. Gehringer was a brilliant fielder with an effortless style and had a career mark of .321 with a high of .371 in 1937. Frankie Frisch, another great second sacker. A switch hitter, his lifetime average was .316. Pie Traynor, rated by many as baseball's finest third baseman, visits the locker of Pittsburgh's greatest hero, Honus Wagner. Pepper Martin, colorful member of the St. Louis Gas House Gang, hits the dirt in one of his famed belly whopper slides. The Gas House Gang even entertained before the game, and star of the Pepper game is Pepper himself. In 1936, a Cleveland scout signs an Iowa farm boy named Bob Feller. He's young and green and maybe a little scared, but he can throw the ball with amazing speed. Rapid Robert consents to match his fastball against the speed of a police motorcycle at 90 miles per hour. But Feller's blazing fastball overtakes the motorcycle and rips through the target a split second ahead of the speeding police officer. Bob's entrance into the Hall of Fame was inevitable. He pitched 3 no-hitters and 12 one-hitters. In 1946, he set a modern record of 348 strikeouts in one season. Joe DiMaggio joined the Yankees in 1936 and immediately rocketed to stardom. In 1941, DiMaggio hit safely in 56 consecutive games to break the record of 44 set by Willie Keeler back in 1897. Jolton Joe was a flawless center fielder and a consistent clutch hitter. Here he hammers a homer in his last World Series in 1951. Joe averaged .325 lifetime and won 3 Most Valuable Player awards. Ted Williams belongs among the super batting stars. His career batting average was .344. 6 times he led the American League. Ted hit a fabulous .406 in 1941. He always rose to the heights in All-Star games, and he drives one into the bullpen in Griffith Stadium. In home runs, Ted ranks 3rd on the all-time list with 521. He was a picture of perfection at the plate, with a swing that was flawless. Williams' counterpart in the National League was Stan the Man Musial of the Cardinals. Musial, one of the most popular players of his time, holds almost every career batting record in the National League. Stan slugs a homer in all-star competition. Musial won the batting title 7 times, had a lifetime average of .333, and hit 475 home runs. Greatest National League lefty in the 30s was Carl Hubbell. Among his records was a league mark of 46 consecutive scoreless innings. Johnny Vandermeer, with the Cincinnati Reds in 1938, became the first to achieve the fantastic feat of hurling 2 successive no-hit games. Dizzy Dean of the Cardinals was one of baseball's most colorful characters. Diz won 30 games in 1934 when he and brother Paul pitched St. Louis to a pennant. Sandy Koufax, renowned southpaw of the Dodgers, set a World Series strikeout record of 15 when he fanned Harry Bright of the Yankees for the final out of the opening game of the 1963 Classic. Jackie Robinson in 1947 became the first of his race to play in the major leagues. Branch Rickey broke down the color barrier when he signed Robbie for the Brooklyn Dodgers. Jackie, an all-around athlete at UCLA, didn't take long to prove that he belonged. He was a fine infielder, an excellent hitter, and exceptionally fast. And on the bases, Robbie was always bold and spectacular. His daring knew no bounds even in a World Series. Here he storms for home against the Yankees with Whitey Ford and Yogi Berra the battery. And he makes it. Yogi doesn't agree with the decision, but umpire Bill Summers has ruled Robinson safe. First Negro in the majors, Robinson also was the first voted into the Hall of Fame. Larry Doby became the first colored player signed by the American League when he joined Cleveland in 1948. He became an immediate star with his home run slugging and sensational play in center field. More colored stars followed rapidly thereafter. Roy Campanella was the top catcher in the National League and a key man in Brooklyn's championship years. His 242 homers was a league record for catchers, and he had no peer defensively. Ernie Banks of the Cubs is included in a foursome that could ensure a pennant anywhere. Frankie Robinson of the Reds, Hank Aaron of the Braves, and Willie Mays of the Giants. A familiar sight for many years at Wrigley Field. Before being shifted to first base, Ernie hit more home runs than any shortstop in history. In 1958, he collected 47 to establish a season high for shortstops. Frank Robinson tied the National League record for most first-year homers with 38 in 1956. But there were even more brilliant years ahead. Hank Aaron of the Braves always will be known as one of baseball's finest wrist hitters. He won batting titles in 1957 and 1959. Willie Mays of the Giants, known as Willie the Wonder or the Amazing Mays, and that without exaggeration. Year after year in a poll by the Sporting News, Willie was named baseball's most exciting player. But Willie can do everything. He has led the league in home runs, in hitting, in stolen bases, and nobody ever was a better outfielder. In all-star games, he repeatedly has been virtually a one-man gang. Elston Howard succeeded Yogi Berra as the star Yankee catcher. Solid defensively and with clutch hitting ability, it earned him the Most Valuable Player award in 1963. It's the 1947 World Series, Yankees and Dodgers. And Joe DiMaggio blasts a terrific drive to left. Al Gianfrido sprints back to the bullpen, and just before the ball clears the low fence, he grabs it. Joe isn't happy about it either. Reliever Don Little comes in for the New York Giants to face Cleveland's Vic Wertz in the 1954 series. Vic gets full leverage into a powerful wallop to center. It's over Willie Mays' head, but back races Willie, his eyes always on the ball, and he grabs it over his shoulder, and even on film it seems unbelievable. Yanks and Dodgers meet again in 1955. Berra lines to left field. Sandy Amaro spears the ball right at the wall, fires to Pee Wee Reese. And it's a double play at first base. It's the final game of that 1955 series, and the Dodgers go on to win behind Johnny Padres for their first world championship. Padres jumps with joy as his happy teammates surround him. The Dodger band blasts away. In the clubhouse, the players go as wacky as the hysterical Brooklyn fans do outside. The following year, Don Larson of the Yankees has a perfect World Series game going against the Dodgers. Dale Mitchell alone now blocks Larson's path to immortality. Don takes his time, goes to the rosin bag, wipes his brow. Umpire Babe Pinelli gets set. Larson fires the ball. Pinelli yells, "Strike three," and it's all over. The first perfect game ever pitched in World Series history. In 1960, Yankee Ralph Terry faces Pittsburgh's Bill Mazeroski in the ninth inning of the seventh game. Bill rips into Terry's pitch, and there it goes, heading for the left field wall. Yogi Berra runs back, but it's over. In fact, it's all over. The Pirates win, and Mazeroski circles the bases with great bounding leaps. Some fans join Bill as he rounds third base, and he has to fight his way to the plate where a deliriously happy mob is waiting to greet him. It's October 1st, 1961 at Yankee Stadium, where Roger Maris is making a drive at Babe Ruth's home run record. He faces Tracy Stollard of Boston. Maris levels on Stollard's next pitch, and away it goes. Nobody is catching this high-soaring missile. It's homer number 61 to shatter a record Babe Ruth set back in 1927, though the Babe hit his in a 154-game schedule as against a 162-game card for Maris. But it's a new record nevertheless, and the crowd roars its acclaim, and so do his Yankee mates. They shove Roger out of the dugout to acknowledge the applause with a curtain call. Mickey Mantle, the most explosive switch hitter of all time, shattered Babe Ruth's World Series home run record in 1964. The Yankee slugger hit 3 against the Cardinals to give him a career total of 18 series homers. Maury Wells of the Dodgers, who revived the art of base stealing. In the 1962 pennant playoff series with the Giants, Maury takes off for second base. He goes in with a fall-away hook slide, and he makes it for steal number 103. And there he goes again, racing for third. The throw is wild, and he scrambles to his feet and continues on home. That's 104, a new modern record. The Dodgers lead the Giants 4-2 in the third game of the 1951 playoffs. Ralph Branca is facing Bobby Thompson. Leo DeRocher faces the coaching box while Thompson takes a pitch. Branca hurls again, and Bobby lashes into the ball, and it streaks toward the left field stands. It's in there for a homer, and old Bedlam breaks loose as the Giants win 5-4. The Giants, who had staged a stirring uphill fight to catch the Dodgers in a furious stretch drive, have come from behind again. Eddie Stanky, who has raced across the field to grab DeRocher, wrestles him to the ground. The fans pour out of the stands. The whirling mass of players and fans screaming and dancing in happy delirium go rolling crazily across the field. Never has a baseball season known a more spectacular climax, nor has any other sport. This game was the most dramatic pennant triumph in National League history. Three crowds of more than 90,000 on three successive days in the 1959 World Series in the Los Angeles Coliseum was an impressive display of baseball's popularity. This never has been matched by any sport. Sandy Koufax, the fabulous Dodger southpaw, etched his name deep into the record book in 1965. He not only shattered Bob Feller's season strikeout record by fanning 382, but also became the first pitcher in history to hurl 4 no-hitters. In fact, number 4 was a perfect game against the Chicago Cubs September 9th. Willie Mays of the San Francisco Giants sets a record almost every time he steps to the plate. But it was something special in 1965 when he passed the 500 mark in homers. Only 4 others ever have accomplished that feat: Babe Ruth, Jimmy Fox, Mel Ott, and Ted Williams. Baseball truly is America's national game.